We're going off-road, way back off the highway.
What's up, guys? Help us reach our goal of 500 subs by hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, like, comment, and share.
What is up, average Jeepers? We're here today and we're going to show you guys how to install a subwoofer into a Jeep or any type of automobile, because the same principles apply no matter what you're putting it into. First off, I want to say that if you guys like this, give this video the thumbs up. Also want to give a shout out to Jeep Sheep TV. He's got some awesome videos over there right now. He's working on a project on a YJ. I think he's putting a new body on, and he's trying to get a project going where he's putting 33s on a smart car. So if you guys want to check that out, make sure you click right here. I'll also put the link in the description below. But let's get it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put this system in this car. And when you put a system in a car, you're pretty much going to need four things. You're going to need a radio, you're going to need a subwoofer, you're going to need an amplifier, and you're going to need wires. Alright, so we're going to take a look at these wires a little bit closer. Alright, you can cut it. Alright guys, before I show you this wire, I just want to take a minute to let you guys subscribe, because if you ain't subscribed yet, I don't even know what you're doing. So we'll take a second. Alright, now that you're subscribed, let's take a look at this wire right here. Alright, so based on the type of amp you get, the wire kit will tell you, what it's good for. And in these wire kits, you're going to get a few things. And I mean, honestly, if you can piece these together, you don't have to buy a kit. You can just buy wire and you can do it separately if you want. But you're going to get a set of RCA cables or audio cables. And this is going to go from your radio to the amplifier. This sends the audio signal for it to amplify and boost up to come out of your subwoofer. You're going to get a red cable. This is your power cable. This is 12 volts that goes from your battery to your amplifier that is always there. You're also going to get this blue cable. This is an important cable. This is a remote cable. This sends 12 volts. It sends a signal to tell this when to turn on and off. Without this, it won't turn on. If you bypass this without putting a switch or something in, then your amp will stay on all the time. Also would like to say that if you're going to use your own wire, I highly recommend putting a fuse in line with it. You're also going to need a ground wire. So the kit's going to come with everything you need. You're going to get, like I said, all the wire that you need. We're going to need to run the red wire, the big wire. It needs to run from your battery all the way at the front of the car, all the way back here to wherever you decide to mount your amplifier. This wire and the blue wire, the remote wire, and the audio wires can run together from the head unit all the way back to the amplifier again. And then the ground wire just runs from the amplifier, and we're going to show you to pick a good place to ground, clean it up, and we'll show you how to make sure you got a good ground. Alright, let's get it. Alright, so we're going to start under the hood. And what we're going to do is we're going to get the wire. If you look on your firewall, you should see some type of grommet or something that wires or something's going through. So we're gonna cut a hole through that for our wire to go through so we can receive it on the other end of the car and pull it through. Alright, so we got our slit cut, and Jamie's going to feed it through the slit, and then we're going to try to grab it here on the other side. It's probably dark and you guys can't see. Alright, once you get the wire fished out, that's probably the hardest part of this whole procedure. So let's pull what we need out. Next we need to take apart the dash. The lens is dirty, sorry about that, it won't focus. Alright, next we need to take the dash out and get to the radio. Alright, now pull all the slack out of your power wire, the red wire, and leave yourself enough to get to the battery but still look nice, you know what I mean? We'll just strap it up, tape it up, tie wrap it up, whatever, to get it out of the way so people can't see it and don't look horrible. And try to put your fuse somewhere that's accessible so you can pop it out anytime that you need to. But don't hook it up yet. Do not hook this up yet. Alright, now that you got your dash apart, pull out your radio even if you got a stock radio, you still need to do this. You pull it out. Now, if you have an aftermarket radio, most wiring, pretty much all wiring radios are the same wiring as far as colors go. So what you're going to want to look at is that if you see a tag, it's a blue wire, but it should have this tag right here that says remote system control. You're going to need to find that blue wire. It just popped off the tag. If you look at your wiring harness, I'm sure this is it right here. It's only blue wire. So you're going to find this. Now, if you're doing this to a stock radio, if you want to put a system on a stock radio, what you need to do, get a voltage meter, a test light, and you need to find a source on your stock radio where you get 12 volts only when the key is forward. And it's just a remote wire that tells the amp to turn on. It just needs 12 volts, so you need to find a 12 volt source. Sometimes a cigarette lighter will send 12 volts, but make sure it's only on when the key's on, or your battery will die, or you'll need to install a switch. So here's our remote wire. We need to bring our blue wire and our RCA wire. We need to bring it up in the dash and back into here. Also, if you're going to use a stock radio, you need to cut the ends off of your RCAs. If you look inside there, you'll see there's two, I don't know if the camera will pick it up or not, but there's two wires in there. So I recommend using, I've never used these type of RCAs to do that, but I recommend using like RCAs from a TV set or a DVD player or some shit like that. And cut the ends off, and you'll see there's another wire inside and a bunch of strands of copper going around. Pull the strands of copper back and skin the other wire, and you'll have two sets of wires, and that's your positive and your negative. So, but for any aftermarket radio that has outputs, we're just going to leave the ends there, and we're going to do it the right way. Or, if you really got style and class, you say, forget about putting the sub in, and you just get yourself one of these bad boys right here. One of these. Huh? Young cats don't know nothing about this, huh? Leave in the comments if you guys remember seeing any of these. Alright, so we got the RCA wires and the remote wire up to the stereo and back down here with our power wire. So we got a remote wire, remember our blue wire. Now if yours don't have a remote wire, you can go to the red wire. This is your ACC. Not the yellow wire, but the red wire. You can tie this to here, and instead of having the blue wire, the radio is controlling when the amp is turning on and off. If you hook it to this, then the ignition is controlling when the amp comes on and off. They'll turn on and off at the same time, but that's two different ways. If you don't have this remote wire, I recommend the remote wire. And if you have a stock radio and there's no remote wire, you're gonna have to get a test meter or test light and find which one is your ACC wire and hook this blue wire to it. But in our case, we have one, so we just need to make a joint right here. And that wire's tougher than the other wire. You hear a lot of people say solder all your joints. I've never soldered my joints. I just twist them like that. I highly recommend wire nuts, but we don't have any that will work. Like orange wire nuts or little blue wire nuts are probably the perfect, but we're gonna use tape. But what I do is I usually twist them that way. I'll fold them on their side like that. Break off a little bit of tape. I recommend 3M, it's my favorite. And twist and pull tight and twist. And don't do one big glob, work down the wire. That's good. But you can solder them if you want. I don't I've never had my joints come loose. I recommend wire nuts, but I've never had one come loose. All right, so once you got that on, now you got your 2 audio wires. Look in the back of your CD player, and you'll have to look kind of hard, but you'll find one that either says output or subwoofer. If you look, we have, looks like subwoofer right, subwoofer left, right in, left in. This one has a lot of options. So we're gonna go down here to the subwoofer left and the subwoofer right. We're gonna plug those in. Okay, if you have a stock radio, remember I told you, I'm gonna show you what you do here. Somewhere I got it. Here they are. All right, so I don't know about these ones, but like the old school home ones, you just cut the ends of them off like here, and you'll have the wire sticking out. Say this is the end of the wire here. You just strip these back. You can see in there, you'll have, I didn't do a very good job of stripping it, but you have this set of copper, and then you'll have another set inside there, and you just separate them like this. Strip the rubber back, the insulation back a little bit further on the base, twist those all together, make sure you get all the strands, and then you can strip that back, and then you'll have your positive and negative. So you can hook this end, if this is your other end will look like this, go into your amp, and the end go into your head unit will look like this, and you will hook this to your left and your right rear speaker. And you'll have to find your ACC wire with a test light or something, but that's how you can put a system in a stock stereo. Alright, so now that we got these plugged in, we can put this back in the dash. Let's put it back in the dash. Alright, now that you got your radio back in, don't forget to plug your antenna in. Put your dash all back together. You're going to have your RCAs, your remote wire, and your power wire. And what we're going to do is we're going to tuck them in underneath here all nice and neat like. Run them underneath here. We're going to run them down the door panels all the way into the trunk. And we're going to come out in the back of the trunk right there in the corner. Alright, let's do it. Alright, so we took the kick panels off the door, and you don't have to run it down this way. I've seen people run it, and I've even ran it myself right to the center console, under the carpet. There's several ways. The important thing is that you get from point A, which is the radio, to point B, which is the trunk. And depending on how important it is for looks, that nobody see your wire, which is pretty important to us. So as you can see, we got them bundled together, taped. We're going to run them underneath this panel. And also, to help you out, you might want to get a stiff piece of wire. What we're using is an old coat hanger here, as you can see, and we're going to fish this through the panel from the back side through to the front. You'll see. Alright, so we used the coat hanger as a push rod, and we pushed into the plastic here, as you can see. And Jamie caught it on that end, and now he's going to tape the wire to it, and he's feeding it to me. And we can pull it out. And we got them all right here. That should help it. So look, we're almost there. All we got is the back seat to go. Leave enough slack in the front to make it look good, where you can tuck it in good, nobody can see it.
I just gotta get up in there and figure out where to zip tie the wires up.
Alright, so we laced them up and under the seat, and now we got them in the trunk. And Jamie's putting the panels back together. Alright, so next you're going to need to hook up your ground wire. And to do that, you can really, if you find a bolt anywhere, we found one right here we're going to use, but look how it's cleaned up. You need to get it down to bare metal so it makes a good connection. But any bolt really onto the chassis of the car or to the body of the car that's down to bare metal will work. So you could essentially you can put a self-tapper in there really if you wanted to, scrub it down to bare metal, and you could ground it out anywhere, but you need to find a good ground. Like I said, most bolts will work. We cleaned that one up, as you can see, the bare metal there, and we're gonna put the bolt back in it, and that will be all the wires that we need to run to the amplifier. Alright guys, so you can see We got it grounded. There's our ground wire. We got all our wires stripped. There's not much room here. Now, if you look on your amp, you're gonna have, see how it says 12 volts, remote, and ground. So obviously your big red wire is gonna go on the 12 volts, your blue wire will go on the remote, and your ground will go on the ground. So get those installed. And one more thing that we didn't talk about, and one thing the kit doesn't come with, is speaker wire. You're gonna need speaker wire to go from your amplifier to your subwoofer. So you're gonna need to get some wire of some sort to go where your speaker output is to your sub. Alright, so let's hook this up. Remember, 12 volt big one, power, remote, small blue wire, ground, black wire. Red, blue, black. Alright, so this is just a basic tutorial. So on your RCAs or your audio wires, you're going to look for like an input where it says input and a left and a right. There's other ways you can do it where, depending on the type of amp, if you have a stereo amp, that just means that you have more than one speaker, and mono means that you have one speaker. So if there's a switch anywhere on your amp, just depending on the type of amp you have, and you got like 2 subs, then you're going to want it on stereo, or if you want to bridge it and you just got 1 sub, then you're going to want to put it on mono. So that's how that works, and really that gets into a whole different ball game of tuning your amplifier. And this is a basic installation. So find the one that says input, plug your RCAs into that. I figured I'd show you the cheater way to do this, and instead of running a remote wire, you can get a wire with a switch and jump it from your 12 volts here to your remote here. But your amp's always going to be on, and you have to come back here, or wherever you mount the switch. You can mount it underneath the steering wheel or something, somewhere convenient, and you have to go turn it off, and if you get it, it can kill your battery. That's a way you can do it. And then if you really wanted to, here are your rear speakers back here, so you could tap into these speakers to get your RCA connection signal wire. But this is the more correct way to do it, so this is the way I recommend to do it. You ready? Alright, last but not least are your speaker wires. And depending on what amp you have, how many channels of your amp you have, is going to depend on the type of connection that you have. This is for a mono one that's, damn, it's on there. Good God. For one sub, so there's only one connection for your speakers. But multiple channel amps will have multiple, where you can have more than one speaker on them, depending on how many channels it has. And you can either bridge those together if you got one sub, or you can, depending on how you do it. And like I said, that's in a whole different video outside of this one. That's a different video. So now that your speaker wires are connected, let's hook them to the sub. Most speaker wire too has a white wire that'll run down one side as an indicator, so make sure that you have them matching on both sides, whichever one you decide to make your positive and negative. And now we just need to hook the power wire up to the battery. And I recommend turning your sub facing the trunk, and then we're good to go. Alright, so it's always a good idea to pull your fuse out when you hook this up. In most modern cars, I'm sure if you got an old Jeep, actually if you had a Jeep, the firewall would be a hell of a lot easier to get to. But our Jeeps already have systems in them, so. Alright, I gotta take that off. Alright, and then just find a good place to mount somewhere to your battery. Alright, so you pop the fuse back in, tuck the wire away. And go turn the key forward and turn the radio on. So Sorry about the guy cutting the grass, but most amps have a indicator light that'll tell you when it's on. I'm sure this one has one somewhere. And it should kick on as soon as you turn the key forward. See? It's right there. Alright, here it is. You can hear the sub. But we don't get copyrighted for it. Fuck it if we do, right? Alright, so that's it. It's working. If it's not working, make sure your light's not coming on. Make sure that you got your 12 volts. Make sure that you got your remote wire 12 volts. Make sure your ground's good. That's the most common one, is ground, if you're having problems with it. If the light's on, you're not getting sound, check your speaker wire connections, and then check your RCA wires. Yep, so that's how you do it. I'd also recommend bolting down your amp so it don't flop all over the place. Alright guys, so I think we've about covered every way that you can install a sub into your car or a system. I want to hear what you guys do. Leave in the comments some of the most ghetto ways you guys have ever put a car system in or a radio in. I like to read it, so put them down in the comments. If this video helped you guys at all, give this video the thumbs up please. If you know anybody that could use it, share it. Other than that, like, share, subscribe. Alright guys, so I think we've about covered every way that you can install a CD player, or not a CD